Happy Monday, everyone. It's a big celebration here because Fast is back, baby. F9 finally opened in North America this weekend. It did very well. 70 million estimated gross, highest opening weekend in the US, not just since the pandemic began, but since Star Wars Rise of Skywalker back in December 2019. Danielle, Lon, thank you for being here to discuss this very important motion picture. We're going to get into spoilers in a minute, but before we do, so I want to give everyone that warning. We're going to get into spoilers if you haven't seen the movie, but before we do, just what is your quick first thoughts, each of you, on F9, the Fast Saga?
Okay, so I missed the first hour trying to find parking, and it didn't matter at all. Didn't matter, didn't affect my enjoyment. I was telling them before we got on air, I didn't watch this with my reviewer hat on, so a lot of this is going to be yeah, I loved it. It was freaking amazing. But yeah, no, I loved it. It was freaking amazing. It was my first time back in the theater, and it was well friggin' worth it. I'm going to say friggin' a lot. Can't help it. Fast 9.
Do it.
I watch everything with my cynical review hat on, but I still loved this. I thought, if you're at this point, I feel like the reviews come out for each of these movies, and some people you're either on board or you're not. I'm not saying no disrespect for the person who can't get into the Fast Saga. I get it. It's very overblown. It's silly. It might not be the perfect mix for you. There's plenty of franchises out there, but at this point, I dig this. I don't dig this. If you dig this, I don't think there's any chance you would not also dig this one. It does. One thing I'll say that I don't think is spoilery. It does tweak the formula in one way, in that at this point, they're just kind of putting it out there this crew can pull off crazy heists and capers. There is planning going into it, but don't you worry your pretty little heads none. So they go right from, here's what we got to do. There's a castle on a mountain. There's a moat. It's in space. We gotta drive there. And then you just cut to them doing it. And I liked when the movies were more like the heist movie thing, where you'd actually see them putting the plan together. None of that in F9 at all. There's a lot of Toretto family drama, and then just doing the crazy stunts with no prep.
I was pretty much all in on this. Look, I'm sure we're about to make fun of a lot of it and talk about how much, so much of it is incredulous and ridiculous. That is a feature, not a bug at this point, guys. I think I saw this movie a month. I saw it again opening night, but I saw it a month ago at a very early press screening. And even a cynical group of press in that screening everyone was having a ball. No, I shouldn't say everyone. Most of us seem to be having a ball. And it's a movie with a 9 at the end of it. And I think I'll repeat that later, that you kind of have to go ridiculous at that point. What series cannot in a certain way going as far as this? So I think they did a lot of fun stuff in this movie. And I liked it a lot more than the last one. That's actually the big thing I'll say, that Fate of the Furious kind of felt a little bit you could kind of feel the energy was off. This one, it was all there for me. All that being said, we're going to go into spoilers now. So that's your last warning. F9, if you haven't seen it, you're about to hear us talk about it. I think some people might not care and think I can still enjoy it. But if you do care, you could probably go watch the movie, come back, and this video will be there for you. Spoiler warning, 3, 2, 1, full spoilers now. All right, guys, let's dig into this.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's get into a series that loves to retcon itself. The Fast and Furious and Saw, they have to have a competition for how much they can rewrite their own history.
Yeah, wow. I love this one. The retcon of the retcon of the retcon. I think we're 3 retcons deep on Han's death at this point.
Sure.
Because we see it face value in Tokyo Drift, where he dies as a result of the action of the film Tokyo Drift.
Yes.
Then there's a retcon that he was actually killed by Deckard Shaw for reasons unrelated to Tokyo Drift. And now we're retconning that retcon of no, yes. It was a devious secondary plot.
Even the timeline of that death also was kind of already a retcon with the Tokyo Drift timeline.
Right,
because that's another one.
My goodness, that goes a far way around. I just want to make sure that I definitely understood this point. There was a little bit of ambiguity, I thought. So Shaw didn't know. Mr. Nobody and Han they knew what was coming, and they were let's take advantage of the fact that Deckard Shaw is going to try to take Han's life. We'll have him fake his death, go undercover as a agent of the U.S. government, correct? Or was Shaw was not in on that plan?
I don't think Shaw was in on it. I do. Look, apparently Mr. Nobody is that good that don't forget.
He's just that good, folks.
The Drift King was trying to kill Han at this moment.
Right.
Deckard Shaw was also trying to kill Han at the same moment.
And Mr. Nobody sees all these threats and he's like, what can I do here? Yeah. Giselle, who we didn't know was helping the U.S. fight the drug war in Latin America? What a throwaway line. That's amazing. But anyway... That being a throwaway line is crazy. We have to talk about that. But yeah, apparently he saw all these trends coming together and was like, I've got a plan. And then Deckard Shaw he's that good an agent. He did not give away the secret, even though he was with this whole team of people that hated him.
2 birds, 1 exploding car.
Yeah. Shaw didn't know. Shaw didn't know, I think.
I don't think Shaw knew. Danielle, what'd you think of Justice for Han, Han's big return here, and the retcon of the retcon of the retcon?
I am so on board. Make these is ridiculous. You know what? Retcon everything. Go back in time and have them not stealing DVDs and make it so that the DVD players were actually giant magnets. Like you can do anything.
I love that. Yeah. The DVD players contained like a device that was like a worldwide nuclear bomb. Yeah, they should do that. It's so crazy. I just want to have this at the very, very end. We're doing spoilers. There's a mid-credit scene. It might be just the very end where we see a guy working a punching bag and we can't see who it is. He's obscured in shadow. He's got a hood on. I, for a moment, was like, oh, is this going to be Lance, the bad guy from the first movie, Johnny Trans guy who he doesn't die. He gets into a bike crash, but he survives. We've never seen him again. I was like, is that how deep we're going now? But no, it's Shaw. It's just Shaw.
But I will say, I now love that if you rewatch Tokyo Drift, you have to think that Han, while he has decided to take a lot of his time to teach this random kid how to drift, is raising a girl that he saved as he's secretly working for Mr. Nobody, while also has established some sort of criminal background with the Drift King in Tokyo. So Han was really multitasking. Like, also, we did not know how much Han had on his plate.
That guy, his high school friends, goofball buddies, are only a few years away from mastering rocket science and space travel.
It's been a long road, my friend.
Like, people are talking a lot this week about like Tej's, like in 2, when we meet Tej, he's sort of the center of the Miami street racing world. Yeah. Not really a technical guy other than cars. Like, he's a gearhead. Yeah. And then when we've now seen him graduate to becoming like on par with the greatest computer programmers, engineers, hackers, and technologists in the world. People are talking a lot about that transition, but not as much about the Tokyo Drift guy, Twinkie, becoming, like a NASA level rocket scientist.
It's not Twinkie anymore. He no longer goes.
Oh, he's not Twinkie. He doesn't go by Twinkie anymore.
That's right.
That's true.
Anymore.
I'm all in on Tokyo Drift guys now being rocket scientists.
Oh, I loved it. I loved all the Tokyo Drift stuff a lot.
Danielle,
I found myself moved when Han and Sean are reunited.
Oh yeah,
I was why am I emotionally moved?
That got an applause for the first time I saw it. That got an applause for the press audience. Danielle, when you came into the movie, how much did you miss, and did you see the Tokyo Drift guys' first scene when we
okay. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't miss any cameo. I came in, luckily, parking is bad, y'all, and everyone was out this weekend.
Yeah, it was. LA Live was nightmarish yesterday.
But yeah, so I missed probably about 30 minutes of the movie, but I got to see all of them come in. Sean, I didn't believe him as a high schooler then, and now I definitely don't believe he was in high school now.
Well, no, he's like 5 years out of high school at this point.
He should be like 23-ish.
Yeah, they should be in their mid-20s and they look 40. But like, okay, look, hey.
It's fine.
Why
I accept it all. Just let it pour over me and through me. I accept all of it.
I feel that way too. Like at this point, it's like more ludicrous stuff is just like, yeah, good. Keep going. Yeah. Like they're in deep sea diver
literally
space. Yes, keep going.
That's the power of this series, right? Because I think this video might be a little repetitive in that we're going to talk about really silly stuff that other movies might collapse under the weight of. But here it just somehow works. And let's mention Mr. Nobody again, because you brought it up. It's like, I thought it was really funny how they had this kind of Russian nesting doll thing with their villains going on, because in the 6th one, they said, oh, guess what? Braga, the villain from 4, he really worked for this guy, Owen Shaw, you hadn't met yet. And then in 8, they said, you know what? Owen Shaw worked for Cypher. You hadn't met her, but she was really the one in charge. And now it turns out Giselle worked for Mr. Nobody. Han worked for Mr. Nobody, and Jacob Toretto says, I worked jobs for Mr. Nobody for years out of this place. So Mr. Nobody, apparently, just everyone worked for him. So should we just assume that at some point he employed every character in the series?
We're working for Mr. Nobody now, which is what we haven't told him.
I think at this point you have to assume any character is like, we're going to definitely find out Helen Mirren and Mr. Nobody's connection in the next movie. Like, for sure that's happening. But yeah, I one thing I did think that they were going to, it's odd that they don't tie this up at the end is Mr. Nobody presumably not dead, because nobody in this universe who is not dead in our real world can die. So I'm assuming that Kurt Russell is still in the mix and we just didn't catch up with what happened to him.
Yeah, I will say that. There's a flaw in this movie. No, I thought that was weird too, because the entire setup is his plane went down. We have a video from him.
But we no body. We can't find him.
Right. So it's strange that there's not even a message from him or something at the end.
You keep expecting him to come back at the very end, like, well, I knew you'd work it out. You know, like I kept waiting for that. Even at the barbecue at the very end, I was like, he's been there the whole, like Dom and he were behind it. Something.
He's in there flipping burgers and turning the coin.
Yeah, he's got his Belgian ale in a special little cup, next to the Coronas. Yeah.
Get Kurt Russell in a big chef hat flipping burgers. That's what
I mean, I guess it was like, because Kurt Russell participated, like there are scenes that he obviously filmed for this. So it wasn't like he wasn't around.
No, yeah, he actually was in quite a few scenes.
Yeah, he's in the movie. It's weird. It must be a thing that they're leaving for 10, that there's going to be some bigger reveal with him in 10.
We'll deal with it and we'll find out 20 other characters.
I had thought they were siloing Hobbs and Shaw off entirely. I thought that was kind of the whole point. They've got their like Etion, whatever the Ryan Reynolds thing is going on over there. But apparently we're going to continue crossing the streams because here's Shaw back in the Fast and Furious verse.
And that's a good tease. I got to say.
Oh, yeah. Well, but again, it's weird because on face value, you're like, oh shit, it's going down because but Shaw still thinks that like Han knows Shaw didn't kill him because he's alive. So why is he there for revenge for a thing that didn't happen?
As much
but he wanted to. He wanted to kill him. I think that's enough.
They're gonna have it out over his. Yeah. It was still attempted murder.
Actually, I want Han to also show up at the Drift King's door too, and say, "You wanted to kill me as well." You know?
I know Johnny Tran died at the.
Wanted to kill him.
I know we see Johnny Tran die at the end of 1, but I still want him to come back.
Anything is on the table.
Johnny Tran and Lance from 1 at some point, I think, should get back in the mix here.
Danielle, what did you think of, obviously, there was 2 huge retcons we kind of knew going in, which was that they were going to say Han was alive, and we knew that Dom and Mia had a brother we never heard about. So what'd you think about the inclusion of Jacob Toretto to the canon?
Oh my God, it was the sloppiest, dumbest thing in the whole world, and I loved it. Oh my God, it was so stupid. I love that, first of all, young Dom and young Jacob, beautiful. I love that they made young Dom 20 inches taller than young Jacob.
It was so funny. Yeah. Like bad for camera angles level of height.
It was they literally got like a young athlete bodybuilder to play Dom and then Jacob Tremblay to play young John Cena. It's amazing. It's amazing.
But yeah, no, I thought it was very silly. The retconning of all of the stuff. Again, this is spoiler chat. The retconning of all of the stuff with Dom's dad, which meant so much in the first one. And now it's like, no, Dad asked me to kill him. Like, what? Yeah. What the F are you even talking? What, the Fast and the Furious? Like, what are you even talking about?
I appreciate, it's one of those series where I guess it reminds me of Saw so much in that they keep retconning, but they do want to acknowledge what they said before. So they're like, well, the first one, there's this whole backstory that he almost beat to death this guy with the wrench. So we have to acknowledge that while saying his anger wasn't even at that guy, since he thought his brother was the one that was really responsible for it.
Because he found that out in prison, right? When he was working on cars and they were like, here's a way to kill someone. And he's like, oh, my brother killed my
met
dad.
the 2 funny guys.
That was why we met Leon and Santos.
That's right.
But by the way, Leah, Tico Calderon, what are you working on right now?
Something was up with that. Wow,
he must have been on tour or something. This is the biggest franchise in the world, dude. Make an afternoon.
Get that check. Yeah, you could have come in for 2 days.
He's got this restaurant now. Leon's working hard.
Couldn't they have just done the thing where they shoot him in a door frame waving and they shot it?
Something. It was so noticeable that he's not there because they got. I'm blanking on the name of the guy who plays Santos. So
yeah. But the Jacob Toretto thing is hysterical. Of course, that I mean, on a series that's family, as we all know, is so important that they're like, hey, there's this brother. There's no way it wasn't going to be awkward. Someone pointed out on Twitter, I saw that there is one really almost impossible thing to get around in the fourth movie when Mia says something about like, you're my only brother or something, that, especially since she's the one who didn't disown Jacob entirely.
Right.
But she was pen paling him at the time as she said that.
Yeah.
Only brother, wink. So it's of
that
course
we acknowledge.
Nobody told her to say that. That's what we're gonna find out in the future.
Yeah, Mia's been running missions for Mr. Nobody too.
Yeah.
So,
of course, yes. Also, while we're talking about characters who progressed, she went from sandwich maker in the first Fast and Furious to, like, by 5 or 6 we already had established like she's also an amazing driver who could do supernatural Toretto things. We've now again upgraded her to computer hacker as well. Somehow she got,
and she can fight. Danielle, you were saying
got mad coding skills. Yeah,
mad ass. Her and Letty kicked some serious ass.
Oh my god, yeah. They're all like every Toretto. I guess we could just say at this point, like from birth, you have incredible car skills and you have incredible fighting skills.
Little Brian can take out anyone on this panel.
Yes, but like I guess you have a predilection towards becoming a great hacker.
Well, we also, because they've been talking for a couple of years that they might do like a female-led spinoff. So I almost felt like that was a little pilot when Mia, Letty, and then I can't remember her name, but Han's kind of adopted daughter figure. They kind of team up, the three of them, before Han makes his presence. Yes. So I was like, is this kind of our little like setup for that movie as well? Yeah. You know, like, let's see that Mia can now brawl. Why not? You know,
we had Cardi B and all of her baddies.
Yeah, what was going on? Who was Cardi B's private army of like sexy warrior girl? I didn't follow. I got like Cardi B, I guess, catches us up on who she is very briefly, but what was her posse? What was going on with that?
Yeah, I don't think they ever explained it. It was just a car full of bad bitches.
Yeah, she's just got like a private army of tough girls.
The next Wonder Woman villains that can go against the Amazons will be.
Wasn't there a group? There was a group of like female badasses in Hobbs and Shaw. So I thought, is that tied to this? Like,
right.
Yeah. So, right. But it was, it was confusing because it was none of the same actors. And,
right. And I kept waiting. Like, I thought at the first those were also cameos, but I didn't recognize anybody. Like, it's a very odd scene. It feels like maybe there was more to that got cut.
Yeah, they just had to keep the Cardi part.
But you got to keep Cardi. Keep Cardi. She also did the theme song over the credits, so you got to keep Cardi in the movie.
We cannot cut Cardi. It's funny for me. Like, okay, this series has been going for 20 years. Amazing. This is the 9th one, and I know there's always going to be people who say, like, remember when this series was about racing? Yes, I do. It wouldn't still be going if it was about racing still. So, what do you guys think of? I think, which is, the big leap. It was a joke for years. They said it, let's actually do it, which is Fast and Furious in space. What do you think of them going for it?
Tyrese in space is the best thing that's happened to me this year, I think. Just all their banter was great. The fact that they even got them up there, the fact that you could see that they are very clearly in space in these scuba suits, putting them together with duct tape. And it's like, that's not how that works at all. They would be the most dead men in the world. Linking up with, I guess, a US and Russian satellite where they just hung out for weeks waiting for someone to come get them from space. Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
I don't know where they go now.
I love how purposefully they violate everything every other movie has ever taught us about space. Like, what's the one rule of every space movie? Is like, well, you've got to keep the shuttle intact for re-entry or you'll burn up in the atmosphere. Every, like, Space Camp is about that. Every space movie. And this one, they're like, Pontiac Fiero should be fine. And like every space movie is like, well, debris in space, it goes everywhere and it'll hit and poke pinholes in the ship and you'll crash. And this one, they're like, just drive through the satellite, man. Bust it up that way. Like, let's go. Like, there's the gravity thing of like pretending to be realistic, but you're breaking all the rules. And like, I'm not as crazy about that as like, just ignore all the rules entirely and just have Tyrese literally driving a car through space.
He drove a car through
He's just driving. He's just driving. He's literally, Tyrese is acting it as if you were just driving a car down the road. He's not doing anything different. It's amazing.
I also love that this was the elegant, they were like, elegant solution. They're like, hey guys, we want to bring back like a bunch of the Tokyo Drift cast. We like, also want to get Tyrese in space. Yeah. Hey, what if they turn a car into a spaceship? Done. Great.
I'm glad. Like, you would think in some, like in James Bond, when they want to have James Bond go to space in Moonraker, they really try to do it. It's like, okay, he gets on a space shuttle and like it's real spacesuit. Like, how would this really work? And I'm glad they didn't do that. Like, there is a version of this where it's more like Armageddon, and the Toretto crew goes to NASA and they put him in a real shuttle and launch him up there. I'm glad they just were like, nah. Rocket car, Ludacris is making jokes. Like, I'm glad they did it their way and made it feel like the Fast and Furious version.
I 100% agree. And I think that, I mean, again, this movie is definitely winking at us more than I think any of them have. And we'll talk about in a second, Tyrese getting very meta in this movie. But I'm like, yeah, that if they sent Dom into space, the problem is that there's no humor to Dom or Vin Diesel. And so they'd have to try to treat it serious. And instead they're like, no, it's Roman and Tej. They will be joking the whole time. And just the cut, we're watching like the big action scene with the magnets and the truck and everything, but then you keep cutting back to space and Tyrese. And I think it was the perfect choice.
Yeah, I mean, the third act of the movie is chef's kiss brilliant. Like, I had some issues leading up to that. There's some clunky stuff, like maybe we spent a little too much time on Toretto family background or whatever. But once you get to the third act and we're cutting back and forth between the big fights and the space stuff, it's perfect. It's exactly what you want.
Are magnets the new NOS?
I think so. What that one shot that was, there's a video going around on social media of how they did it practically, but that one shot where Ramsey is learning how to drive, doing a brilliant job in her first ever attempt, and she pulls Jacob's car, here it is, through the store. They did that practically. Have you guys seen the behind the scenes?
No.
This is not CG. They really filmed a car being pulled through a fake store.
That's wild.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Justin Lin is nobody, like, I know you were saying this briefly before. I really like Furious 7. I think 5, 6, and 7 are all like basically perfect. But I don't think there's even James Wan, I don't think there's a guy out there who can do Fast and Furious action scenes like Justin Lin. He just gets this franchise and how these scenes should look and how these big spectacle car chase nonsense things should play out. And they're always the best in the Justin Lin movie.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you felt his return, especially, like I said, coming off Fate, because I like Furious 7 as well. But yeah, Fate of the Furious, that was F. Gary Gray, right?
Yeah.
It just didn't feel like he clicked in with that series. And
I love the remote control, like when Cypher is controlling the whole city of cars.
Yeah.
That's a great sequence that I think F. Gary Gray actually kind of nails. But the craziness, the over-the-topness, the energy that Justin Lin brings from Tokyo Drift on is just, it's unlike what any other director does with these movies. And the magnet stuff is incredible.
It is. I realize we could probably go on and on about this thing, which clearly we were very enthusiastic about. But I do want to get to some other stuff about the Fast franchise. Also want to thank you all guys for watching. Please subscribe to our channel for videos every weekday. Hit that like and that bell for us. Also on Wednesday, we will be having our next Loki chat, Loki spoiler chat. So be all caught up on Loki for that day. Let's talk about the future of this series. We talked about some of the stuff that was set up here. We're getting 2 more of them, right? They say 10 11 will wrap up the core saga.
I noticed Vin is now calling it Fast and Furious 10 parts 1 and 2. Yes. Originally, they were calling it F10 and F11. I believe now it's like they're just splitting the final film into
Deathly Hallows style.
Yeah, he's like
Hallows
reversing. It's like a funny thing where he's reversing Deathly Hallows or Infinity War and Endgame, which was originally going to be one movie, and then Infinity War Part 1 and 2. But two more films will be released. I'm assuming they might be a little more cliffhangery than they usually do, even though there's post-credit stuff. I think it'll be a little more, as people even joke because they said that F9, 10, and 11 are a trilogy. It's like, well, then 10's got to be their Empire Strikes Back, right? Like some dark stuff has to happen. But what do you want? Two more of these movies. What do they do next? Where do they go? And what can they retcon next? What do you guys want to see?
Look, someone online said do a musical, and that's all that's what's left. Like once you go to space, next it's got to be, because the thing about musicals is that you feel so much emotion that the only way that you can get it out is through song. I want to see them all singing. I want a car to sing. I want to see the life of the car as it goes from being manufactured towards the end when it sees itself being, magnetized or whatever and being dragged through a shop. I want to see that car's feelings. I want to feel what that car feels.
I feel like if it was a musical, Jake Toretto's car narrates it. It's the Toretto family history as seen from the perspective of the Toretto family car.
That's amazing. I would watch that a million times. That would be my new Rocky Horror.
I'm seeing Neil Patrick Harris as the car.
I'll mix in some AMA stuff here because I do see that John Bainbridge asked, what's our most ridiculous pitch? He goes for Fast 27. He's just assuming
I will say, I think that the next two, my take would be, you've done space, 10 time travel. That's the next obvious one. And it also allows you, we've been talking about, Jurassic Park is crossover potential. That allows you to put dinosaurs in there. So I think that checks a big box for people. And then 11, I think you go multiverse. And there's a lot of options for, like, you're meeting alternate reality versions of the Toretto crew, and then possibly even leading up to the only way to end this cycle of endless heists and races and retcons and betrayals. You got to take out Justin Lin and the president of NBC Universal. Like, that's the final villain.
Oh, see, now I was thinking Universal Monsters, but I like that.
Ooh.
Yeah. Also, I mean, if you're doing multiverse, all of this and more is you could Space Jam to it, and
that's just exactly what I was thinking.
Every Universal property from throughout history is on the table.
Danielle, I want to hear a little bit more about your Universal Monsters idea, though, because I'm on board.
Well, I just think you get them meeting Frankenstein. I want, it doesn't even have to be comedic. It would be very much taken. I just want to see Frankenstein and then Vin Diesel and they're just having the battle of the grunts at each other. Yeah. I think that's great. And then at the end, maybe there's a love triangle between Dom and Letty and Dracula, because I feel like Dracula would be very into Letty, or Dom, who, it's the future. We can do whatever we want. It's 2027. We'll be able to make that happen.
I like it. It's kind of like Monster Squad, but in a Fast and Furious world, where instead of the kids Monster Squad opposing Dracula and his cabal of monsters is just the Toretto crew.
I mean, I know people, first of all, I'm all on board for that. And I know this has been joked about a lot recently, but I'm all for the Jurassic World Fast and Furious crossover. You take Universal's two biggest franchises. I want to see that Charger run up the back of a T-Rex and just leap off it. And then you get a car that can fit raptors. Yeah,
the Jurassic World franchise at this point, they've now gotten to the point where there are just dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are out. They're it's a Jurassic World. We're all just living in it.
That's right.
So you're perfectly primed. I mean, if we just established that all of the Fast and Furious films have been happening in the world where the Jurassic World films were also happening. Now there are dinosaurs that the Toretto crew has to deal with.
Why not? You reminded me of something else, Lon, when you had the amazing idea that they should meet Justin Lin in these films.
I believe they should have to meet. At some point, Dom has to come face to face with Justin Lin.
This movie got way more, I mentioned this earlier and I forgot to go further with it. This movie got way more directly meta by having Roman say this is crazy. We should be dead. And then even saying, I have bullet holes in my clothing, but not in me. What did you think of them kind of going that far with the like, isn't this crazy? Like, because Roman always says this is crazy, but this time he was going a little further with what he was pointing out.
I think it's fun, and I think they'll probably drop it for the next part 1 and part 2. I think that they're probably going to just leave it at this one, would be my guess. But also, I can't wait until the next one where they are just talking about their time in space. I could have listened to them talk about him eating Tootsie Rolls on a space station for another 10 minutes, like at least.
Yeah. I agree with Danielle. I don't think this is the start down a path where they're going to become more self-aware about it. But there are several sort of winking elements of this movie. I think Hobbs and Shaw is the only other one that's kind of played around with the characters becoming ironically aware of how they're in this heightened, not realistic universe. Because there's a lot of like flashbacks where it almost feels like they're introducing their own clip. Like Han seems to know we're about to watch a mini movie about what happened to him. Right. And also I would call your attention to the fact that we're reintroducing Bow Wow to this world, the only actor to have broken the fourth wall in a Fast and Furious movie. In Tokyo Drift, he gets on an elevator with a bunch of ladies and he sort of winks at us, the viewer. The only time that's happened. So like there are like teases in this one that like we're entering a world where they're more aware of being in a film.
See, and Twinkie says he doesn't go by Twinkie anymore. Bow Wow goes by Shad Moss. It all comes together.
It's all I really feel like
there's no such thing as a coincidence.
We're getting into a world where they're kind of also Charlize Theron has that joke about how John Cena doesn't look like he's related to Vin Diesel.
Yes. Yeah, and she says this is the part in the movie.
Right. Yes. There's a lot of stuff like that where it's like they're starting to wake up to this reality that they're not the things that are happening to them are not fully real.
Yeah, she just talks about the ending of the second act like out loud.
Yeah, she's definitely
like she literally is describing a screenwriting class. Like
also, I have a lot of practical questions about how this glass plastic cage prison,
Magneto prison,
working in. She doesn't seem to have a working restroom in there, so they must be letting her out regularly. Somehow, is there a protocol? She's got like a fresh haircut, full makeup. She's dressed nicely. Like, what? How is this captivity working? I don't understand this at all. I want to spend 24 hours watching how they're keeping Charlize Theron guarded and safe.
Oh, I did want to mention that, she survives. We have a fake out where it seems like she's dead, but she's not. So she's going to continue on. As and she hasn't been redeemed yet, so she seems to be a recurring villain, not redemption. But they mention Otto is dead, apparently, but they mention his rich and powerful father about 20 times. Yeah. So I saw someone say it's going to be Mads Mikkelsen or something, but Otto's dad's totally coming for revenge, right?
We even go to Tbilisi, and like there's like a fake out that we're going to meet the dad, and then we don't. So I definitely think future big bad coming. For sure. Yeah.
Cypher's gonna do some teaming up there. I also hope, by the way, when we were talking about
he's a dictator.
He's a dictator. He's rich. He's very rich. I also do hope he doesn't need to be meta, but I will say another criticism of this otherwise perfect movie is that John Cena didn't get to be funny at all, and that's his strength, honestly, in movies. And so I felt like all he's doing is playing tough. But I wanted to see the humor that he like blockers, and it looks like James Gunn is definitely tied into the humor part. So I hope that Jacob Toretto can get a smile back. You
can get a smile back. I see what you did. Wrestling reference. I definitely John Cena does best when you give him poop and fart jokes. And that is something that is direly missing. We don't get enough poop and fart jokes inside the Fast series. So give him some of those and he'll do great. Just let him say the word wiener.
Yeah, I think like even when he first got cast, it's an odd role to put him as a Toretto, not only because he doesn't really look like the other Torettos, but because Torettos are not fun. Like the Torettos are that's why we surround them with colorful eccentrics.
Yes.
Because the Torettos are they're gravely serious family. They're all to a member. So it would have felt weird to have like a goofball John Cena zany character come in. But I agree that when you see John Cena in a movie, you expect him to be a little irreverent and a little silly, and he doesn't get to do that at all here.
You could kind of replace The Rock, though, as the other, like, kind of straight man, aggressive, because, like, Tyrese used to bounce off The Rock a lot when he, like, in the movies before The Rock was gone. So you could have, like, new person who is fed up with Tyrese, and I feel like there's a
Also,
dynamic there. You could
coming in at being a little more serious and then loosening up and becoming a funnier member of the crew on future editions. That is kind of the Fast and Furious.
Oh yeah, Hobbs, Roman himself.
Yeah. A lot of these characters were more serious when even Hobbs is a good example of like the villain, the heavy at first, just like a tough guy for a while, and then it's like one-liners and jokes, and now he's like goofing around the whole time. So I think that could happen with Cena in future editions as well, now that we know he's going to be part of, a member of the good guys.
Oh yeah, he did not drive away for the last time.
No, I mean, it's actually, look, if we could take a beat from kind of having fun with it because they're so silly, like there actually is some nice symmetry with the first movie and the ending of this one, where in the first movie Brian lets Dom get away and he's like, I owe you 10-second car, and then they revisit that beat, but it's Dom now paying it forward and letting Jacob get away, and I thought that was kind of nice.
That was really nice. I agree.
Yeah.
No, I do too. It's the other thing about this series is they're so silly, but then they also are really sincere. And just by virtue, these are not great characters, but we've been with them for 20 years, and they are great. They're not, and they are. So it's like, Dominic Toretto is what he is, but we've been with him for 20 years.
Icon. Yeah. Come on.
He is an iconic presence on screen. So when he's like, a guy once gave me a 10-second car, I'm like, I know what he's talking about.
He did the thing.
It's Brian.
He did the thing, and we all love the thing. John Lee, actually, we answered this, that did they ever say what happened to Mr. Nobody? They did not. They'll get to it.
We'll answer it. We're not supposed to know yet. We're gonna find out in 10.
Yeah, they should have mentioned it. They should have had some,
or at least a shot of him, like a Nick Fury at the end of Far From Home. Like he's not around, but we'll get back to him.
Everything's going according to plan.
Right.
And then Timotei 360 asks, true or true, Vin Diesel has more on-screen chemistry in one scene with Helen Mirren than he ever did with Michelle Rodriguez. He's shipping what's Mama Shaw's first name? I keep forgetting. Magdalene or Queenie. Shaw.
She goes by Queen.
Yes, that's right. And Dom.
Look, Helen Mirren could have chemistry with a soap bottle. Like she is built-in chemistry. And yes, that scene was a little sexier when she says, like, hit my e-brake for me. That's a little sexy. You get a little tingle in that, don't you?
They know it. It like when she tells him he's her favorite American, like, yeah, that's flirty. Like, of course, of course. Yeah, I think, listen, Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez, they're terrific at what they're doing, but they've never been like a sizzling hot pair on screen. They just, I don't know. I honestly think Vin Diesel has a little bit more natural on-screen chemistry with Jordana Brewster, which is not great because they're playing brother and sister. So, I don't know if I don't know if it's Helen Mirren so much as like, I think at this point you just got to accept Dom and Lady. They're like an old married couple. They've been together forever.
Yes, but Helen Mirren, yes, great. It doesn't, I wish she was in more of the movie, but I know she'll be back, so it's okay. And they gave her a racing scene. By the way, also
fun to give her just put her in there give her the little action beat.
Yeah, she can give a little information and race around. Also, by the way, I'm guessing they might have cut some stuff for time because they pointedly have actors playing. I guess Letty does say young Letty introduced. It's supposed to be here clearly, who's like, the race, like ready, steady.
Yes.
But then they have a girl who's clearly supposed to be Mia. She doesn't talk. And then I love that in the background, you see Vince and Jesse from the first movie. They have a little kid with the cap.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be Jesse, and they have Vincent like that. They don't speak.
Jesse.
I'm guessing they might have shot some stuff and cut it, but I'm like, that's got to be a Peacock series, right? Like young Fast and Furious gang.
I want to see young Vince. I want to know why he's always so sweaty.
I also feel like Leon and Santos, they're now setting up for there's a limited series there too. Now that we've known, like, from where they met Dom to where we rejoin them, like what's been going on in the interim there. That's
we got 2 more of the main movies, but we have so many other opportunities here.
Don Omar, by the way, plays Santos. I forgot. I blanked on it before.
guys, I think we'll end here because we could talk for hours about this movie.
We're literally just scraping the surface.
But I will say, I think because we did talk about this before we started, that I think all of us had the experience of seeing it with good crowds. When I saw it again on Thursday night, people were, they're just having fun with it. Everyone was cheering when they cut, when they're in space, people are cheering, and when Han shows up, they're cheering. They're family, guys. That's what I say. They're family, and it makes us feel good, right?
Yeah, the crowd at LA Live last night did not know that they were going to space in this one. Like I knew because it's been on the internet for a while, but
when it was in the trailer.
I thought it was kind of out there in the world, but like based on the reaction when they actually like blasted it off, like people were really excited to see that long promised moment really happen and come to life on screen. It got a real big reaction last night.
Give the fans what they want, and this series keeps doing it.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll end there for now. But thank you for joining us today.
I have one more question before we go.
Yep.
So Scott Eastwood, I thought, like, doesn't it seem, because we weirdly in this one have this beat where basically Tej and Roman now have the Hobbs Mr. Nobody role of like, they're the M, like, here's the assignment, your mission, should you choose to accept it? And like, doesn't that seem like that would have been a moment to bring back Scott Eastwood? I wonder why they didn't.
I think that Scott Eastwood, again, there's a lot of things I don't think worked in 8, and his character seemed transparently there to replace Brian. And I think no one cared about that character. And I think Jacob is the new way to try to replace Brian by literally giving him a brother we didn't know about. So, I mean, this series being this series, I wouldn't be shocked if we see Scott Eastwood pop up for a second, maybe in the 11th one. But
felt like they didn't. It felt like they notably didn't have a character for that role. Like giving it to Tej is weird, as opposed to just him getting everybody together, but fair enough. I mean, I'm not saying like I was desperate to get Nobody Jr. back in the mix. It was just more like it seemed like that would have been an obvious and convenient thing.
That is one of your top 5 favorite movie characters ever, though, right?
Nobody Jr. I gotta say, I don't love that they never gave him a name. Like I get it that he's CIA, you can't know who he is, but like he would have told them at least a first name at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, I will throw
out Mr. Nobody is lame after like 4 movies.
I will throw out one other thing too. You can't see. We can't stop talking. I did an article that was 11 characters they should bring back to the Fast and Furious franchise. I think the link's in the description. But the one I put in has a joke, but not because of this series. Is Minka Kelly, who was in the short that they put on the Too Fast, Too Furious prelude, what was called the turbocharged prelude to Too Fast, Too Furious, showing Brian getting from LA to Miami. There's no dialogue in it. She's just a pretty girl who sees a pretty man at a diner and helps him escape. And then it turns out she knew who he was the whole time. I'm saying, and she did this before she did Friday Night Lights or Titans or anything. But now you bring her back, and either she was working for Mr. Nobody and she helped Brian, or she was working for Cypher, who had her own nefarious reasons to want Brian to get to Miami.
Yes.
So I'm saying
maybe she's one of Cardi B's bad bitches. We don't know.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Currently, she's only listed on our wiki at the Fast Furious wiki as the girl because she had no name. But it's time to give her a name, just like Scott Eastwood's character, and maybe they can be in cahoots. There you go. Minka Kelly and Scott Eastwood, they've got a whole villainous thing going on. There's Fast 10 for you guys. Thank you all for joining us on this incredible journey that will continue for many more years, at least 20 to come. We will be back with plenty more this week. Thanks, guys, and have a pleasant Monday. Bye.